You may need to run. You may need to go the other way or send him back where he came from. Now, I say may because all insecurities aren't necessarily deal breakers, depending on who you're dealing with and how they're willing to address them. Matter of fact, I would go so far as to say, we all got insecurities of some sort. That's just normal, natural as a human being. You may have some insecurities. But when a man or a woman, but I know a lot of y'all watching this are women, so when a man has insecurities and he's committed to those, meaning he's embraced those, he's not willing to challenge those, address those in any type of healthy way, you have to take your hands off of that man's insecurities, let him have them, and you hold on to yourself. Because the number one thing you're going to lose by trying to deal with an insecure man who's committed to those insecurities is yourself. That's the number one thing you're going to lose. So when that man is insecure, matter of fact, there's several types of insecurities. Some of it, yes, is around dudes that you may be dealing with and whether or not you're going to cheat on him or something like that. But sometimes a man can be insecure because you're beautiful. Y'all ever had a guy get with you because you're so attractive to him and you're so this, that, and the other, your body, your face, everything is just where it needs to be and how you dress, but then he turns around and he's insecure about the exact same thing that drew him to you and then tries to change you or whatever he tries to do? That's insecurity. A man can be insecure about your intellect, about your intelligence, about your education, formal or informal. A man can be insecure about your drive. A man can be insecure about anything, your status, the way people love you. And if you're not careful, that man's insecurity could cause you to reduce to a much lesser version of yourself. If you're not using your intuition, your discernment to identify what it is you're dealing with, you'll end up fighting the wrong battle. I was just telling one of my Self-Crown VIP members this. She got this situation where she's dating this guy and all of these things are kind of coming up, things are kind of changing and shifting, and she's wondering what she should do about it. And I said, the first thing you need to do about it is take your hands off of it, because it sounds to me like he's committed to his insecurity. So first, before you can even take your hands off, like you got to be able to recognize the red flags that a man is insecure. And one of the first red flags that a man is insecure is when he gives you all of this questioning up front about something specific. All of the early questioning, deep questioning, it starts to cross a line from him just generally being curious and just, wanting to know a little bit more for his understanding. And it goes over into him looking for reassurance to soothe that insecurity. Why is this important to know? Because of course, in the early dating stages, you're gonna have questions, you're gonna have conversation. It ain't like, oh, the man just asked 2 questions about one subject, he's an insecure man and da-da-da-da. No. But say for instance, if you mention that you're gonna be going to a work event, right? He said, oh, okay, who's all gonna be there? My coworkers, your coworkers, like who? This is all normal so far. But say you mention, Teresa and Leslie and Jim and Patrick. Wait, who's Jim? Who's Patrick? Where do you know them from? How long have you been working with them? Are they married? Have they ever tried you before? You ever had anything? You think they're attractive? How do they dress? What kind of money do they make? When you start getting into that line of questioning, it's going deep, that's insecurity rearing its head. Insecurity is rearing its head. And it may be that, it may be somebody in your friend circle, you're going to go hang out. Again, we just taking one aspect of insecurity, like he may be insecure about your looks or whatever, but he starts asking all these questions, a deep rabbit hole of questioning to the point where you start getting defensive. And now you realize, hold on, this ain't about this little work event. This ain't about this little after hours, we going for cocktails or something like that. This is about something deeper. And see, if you don't discern what it is you're dealing with, and that is insecurity, you may end up fighting the wrong battle. And the short way to lose the most important war is to fight the wrong battles within. A lot of y'all lose the war for your peace, for your happiness, for yourself, for your individuality, outside that relationship, for your meaning, your purpose, because you're fighting the wrong battle of somebody's insecurities about those things. So if you're not discerning and using your intuition, you may get sucked into something that ain't got nothing to do with you. And if he's not willing to address that in a healthy way, which we'll talk about that, what that looks like when a man is willing to address things the healthy way, because this shouldn't be an automatic deal breaker. But let's move on. Another red flag that you're dealing with a man who has insecurities is whenever you notice that his energy changes, the moment that you mention something. And not just changes, but it becomes agitation. Because the energy change could be good or bad. But if he gets agitated, again, let's take the guys, for example, because that's one of the main insecurities a man is going to have. You got friend guys, right? And you mentioned, maybe it's not even friend guys. Let's not even go there, because I think we can all understand that. But let's say any type of male presence you're going to be in. You know, your father just came over to your house to fix some stuff. Your brother or your cousin just gave you some cash or something like that, or they hooked you up with something. And then you mention this and his energy changes. He becomes agitated. He becomes withdrawn in the conversation. He wants to shut the conversation down. He's quick to try to change the subject. Maybe it's not men. Maybe it's some type of promotion or something like that. You gotta be real keen to whenever the energy shifts in a conversation with a person, because there's something there. And more than likely it's insecurity. If you mention that you just got a promotion, you just got your biggest day of sales in your business, you just got a deal that you just closed, maybe on your first home or something like that, and he gets agitated right after that, there's something there. And that may be enough for y'all to say, oh no, that is a deal breaker. Maybe so, that's on you. But if his energy changes, there's an insecurity there. That's not your signal to defend or over-explain yourself, or to reduce how much you talk about said accomplishment or said person's involvement in your life. He may be insecure. And when it comes back to your father or your cousin or your whatever, he may be insecure, like, man, she don't need me as much because she got these men around, or she's over here making all these strides. She ain't gonna need me financially. If his only security comes from a woman who's dependent on him, who can't survive without him, then these types of things are likely to make him insecure. And that insecurity will show itself in his energy changing. And again, I'll tell you how to handle that. First off, because he got to be willing to even acknowledge and address that that's exactly what it is. But another way that a man will show you and give you a red flag, and all of these are immediate, by the way. You can typically see these things in the first week, sometimes the first 1 or 2 dates or conversations. But another red flag that a man is insecure is whenever he's highly critical. So we already know being highly critical can be a form of a very gradual passive verbal abuse. You have to be very careful with that. But let's not just talk about this extreme level. Let's just talk about any type of criticism, whether it be passive, whether it be joking. You know, you like to say you're going out for brunch with your girls. The criticisms could look something like, oh, you going out with your single girls? You see why they single? They always want to be out. You always want to be out with them. That's a form of criticism. You going now this Sunday, you ain't got nothing else to do. You ain't got no work to do. It sounded to me like all you do is hang out. Criticism. You going now, you gonna be wearing that? Man, let's see what type of attention criticism. And you start getting criticism and it's unwarranted. You ain't insulted this man. You ain't wronged him. You ain't lied about nothing. Anytime that you find yourself in a defensive position where you know you didn't do anything wrong, you're more than likely fighting a battle of that man's insecurity. Put I down in the chat if you've ever dealt with this. And again, it may not be something, it may be money. You got a nice little Rolex on your arm. You pull up in that nice, new BMW, Lexus, something like that, maybe Range Rover. Oh man, I see you don't need no man. You spend all your money on stuff. Oh, you superficial. You materialistic. Criticism. That is reflective of insecurity on the part of that man. That's a red flag that he is insecure. Anytime you get a ton of criticism unwarranted from a man, and especially if it strings out for days or maybe even weeks, so he's not having a bad day, because everybody have their good and bad days. Y'all might get critical if you're having a bad day or something like that. But it's on a particular topic and it ranges over a certain week on a subconscious level. That's a man's insecurity trying to discourage you from doing whatever it is that you got going on. Not because it's bad for you, but because it's uncomfortable for him. Your greatness in that area, your freedom in that area, your confidence in that area, it agitates his insecure demons. Instead of getting delivered from those demons, he want to take them out on you. Another red flag that you're dealing with an insecure man is whenever he tries to overcompensate. And what does overcompensation look like? Let's say he's insecure about your intellect. Did man get to line about where he went to school? He get to kind of fluffing it up a little bit. He try to use words way outside of his range, out of context. They don't make no sense. That's when a man is overcompensating. He may be insecure about his finances. You know, you doing your own thing. You used to men who got X amount of bread or whatever. Now he taking you on dates he can't afford. You can tell when a man can afford a date because he got a certain lifestyle, but the dates he taking you on are like, they just over the top. They just too much. You know, he just spent about $1,000 and he probably got $1,100 in his account to his name based on his lifestyle. Now, I'm not saying to be sizing men up and, you know, counting pockets and stuff like that. I'm just saying, look for the misalignment. And when the misalignment looks like, okay, he's trying way too hard in this area. You mentioned that you love and romance. Of course, a man is going to try to deliver some flowers and stuff like that. But if he's going over and beyond, he may be insecure in a particular area. Maybe because you told him that your ex used to do these things or because you like these things. And again, this isn't necessarily deal breaker. It's just something to pay attention to because that pendulum can swing the other way. And the way that pendulum swings is whenever you don't respond a certain way to his overcompensation with any type of overcompensation on making him feel good. And then he gets critical about you not appreciating him, being grateful or expressing that gratitude. And you know the whole time, I've definitely expressed gratitude. I've definitely said thank you. I've shown appreciation. But you're looking for something even more. Why is he looking for something even more? Because he has even more insecurities that need coddling. And he's depending on you. He's holding you responsible for doing that instead of healing that, which is causing the insecurity to begin with. Now, another one, which is very similar and honestly could be kind of in the same one, but it's asking you or requiring you to overcompensate for these insecurities. Now, what does this look like? This looks like, again, let's take it back to you just going out, having a life. You know, some guys are very insecure about you having an identity, a strong one outside of them. They feel like they can control you, manipulate you, and therefore they feel insecure and out of control of the person that they love. So if you have a life outside of him, he's insecure and he tries to get you to overcompensate. That may look like him telling you to stay home more. Not just more, but literally you can't go out with your friends, go to dinner. Now, most men are gonna have a problem if you like to stay out to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, getting drunk, smoking, you know, all up in dudes' sections. Most men who are serious about a relationship, I'm just being real with y'all, are not gonna be super comfortable with that, right? But if you can't even go hang out, if you can't go to lunch, brunch, dinners with your girls, baby showers, anything like that, that man may be trying to get you to overcompensate for his insecurity. If you dress sexy, not trashy, but just sexy, whatever. I mean, I know it's subjective, but you guys use your own intuition, use your own common sense on what sexy is versus trashy. Your nipples ain't out, your areola ain't showing, you know what I'm saying? Your ovaries ain't out, you know, all over the place. You just sexy. You just got a curvy body, but he trying to get you to wear a cloak, a robe everywhere you go. So nobody can see nothing. He's trying to get you to now overcompensate for his insecurities. And that can go all the way to him isolating you from people that love you, care for you. He don't want you to have no contact with men. Now, let's get into for a second, because again, I don't want y'all to villainize a dude for having insecurities. Again, that's totally natural, totally human for all of us to have some type of insecurity to some degree, but how he handles it tells you whether or not you need to get the heck out of Dodge. So I'm gonna go through the wrong way first. If that man externalizes his insecurity, projects that onto you, that's when you need to leave. That's whenever the insecurity, the red flag of insecurity is not just a red flag, it's a stop sign. Go the other way. Stop. Don't go any further than where you already at. U-turn. Because when a man is projecting that insecurity onto you, it's going to have an impact, especially if you end up falling in love with him. Because your love to him or your love for him is going to create emotional proximity. And the closer a person gets, the more impact it can have on you. So whenever you get close emotional proximity with a man who is insecure and projecting that onto you, he can make you change your identity, lose yourself. He can gaslight you. He can make you isolate yourself from family and friends. He can take away everything that makes you who you are and the life that you establish outside of him. He can make you fully dependent on him when he ain't even worth being interdependent on. And we talked about that concept in a different video, so I won't go in here. But when a man projects that insecurity onto you, he can get you to see yourself how he sees you. In any type of negative context where you start wondering if you're the problem, put I down in the chat. If you ever dealt with an insecure man for so long, you really started adopting and embracing and internalizing his insecurities. And now you got insecurities you didn't have before you met him. You inherited his insecurities. And now you wondering if you're the problem, if you're good enough, if you're cute enough, if you're too much of a hoe, if you like to go out too much, if you think that you're too independent, if you like to work too hard, if you're materialistic. You internalize those insecurities of his now into yourself, and now you embracing that and walking according to that. Instead of dealing with a man who has you internalizing your greatness, your full potential, the way that he sees that you're beautiful, the way that he thinks you light up any room that you walk into, that you're a gift to the world. And you see, this is when a man, now I talk about evolved men because a lot of y'all get it confused when I talk about evolved men thinking I'm talking about perfect men. Evolved men may even have insecurities, but you want to know what evolved men also have? They have accountability, they have ownership. So whenever an evolved man is aware or made aware, because maybe you bring it to his attention that there's something he's being insecure about, the most that evolved man is going to ask you for is boundaries. Boundaries. And this is all within reason. Okay, you got to have your male acquaintances or whatever. Let's set a boundary. What do you think about this boundary of them not calling past midnight? What do you think about this boundary of if you're going to go out with them or what have you? You know what I'm saying? It's not a nightclub. If they're going to be involved or something like that, it's not just you and any particular one male friend that's heterosexual by yourself. Like, he'll ask for boundaries. That's the most, because that's a healthy thing to ask of a person, especially if he's healing that insecurity. If it's not an insecurity that you like, if it's not an insecurity that you can understand anybody having, if it's not an insecurity that you guys mutually have and y'all mutually establish that type of boundary. Or maybe the insecurity, again, is not projected onto you, but it's something that he takes ownership of and saying, you know, even though I'm uncomfortable with this, I understand this is my battle to fight. This ain't yours. Don't live your life any different. You need to go ahead and be successful. Allow your father, your male cousins, your brothers or whoever to be involved like they've been involved. They love on you. Nothing's wrong with that. You go ahead and keep being sexy. This is on me to deal with. I got insecurities. That's what an evolved man does when he's got insecurities. That's the type of thing he's keeping you safe from the version of him, from the parts of him that need work. That's evolution. And see, I don't believe in no perfect man. I know I ain't one, but I absolutely believe in men who are evolved in the way that they address things and handle things. So if you got a man who has insecurities, but he's willing to take ownership over those, you got a man who's growing with you. He's not imploding at your expense. He's not trying to shrink you down to acclimate to all of his shortcomings. He's growing, he's continuing to evolve, and he may even teach you ways that you can evolve through your insecurities so you can be a healthier individual and y'all can have a healthier union. But you can only get this when you deal with a man who understands the keys of evolution. Whether it's by mentorship, by experience, but somehow, some way, evolution is the key marker for the man that you're dealing with. Now, if you've never dealt with a man like that, and you feel like you're not even attracting that tier of man in terms of how he approaches these types of difficult things, it's probably because you don't have the strategies, or at least you're not using the strategies, if you do know them, to attract these types of men into your life, because they're looking for great women. They're looking for women who have also done the work on themselves, who are actually tired of entertaining the same old same in the men that they got to raise. A lot of women aren't. A lot of women are cool with raising dudes, but some of y'all are sick and tired of being sick and tired of raising these guys, and you're relegating to saying, I'm just going to be single for the rest of my life. I'm just going to be single. And it really, if you want to, cool. But if you want love and companionship, it doesn't mean you don't love yourself. And you don't have to be single for 20, 30 years. You just have to use the strategies to attract men who are equally yoked on a character and mentality level. And if you want more information on that, because you're saying, well, how do I do that? I did a free masterclass just for that reason, teaching thousands of women on how to attract evolved men. If you want access now, before that masterclass comes down, click the link that you see pinned right here. That link, event.webinar. Click that link, get access. It's pinned by my page. Go ahead and register, save your spot, and then come on back to the video. That will give you the strategies to attract and evolve men, identifying them, attracting them, and how to make something work long term, especially whenever you're so used to guys who fall way below that standard. But back to what I was saying, when you're dealing with an insecure man, the biggest thing you have to discern is whether or not he's committed to his insecurity. In the form of being in the commitment to his insecurity is going to come out in a few different forms. It's going to come out in the form of him projecting onto you, or in the form of him saying, hey, you got to accept me as I am. Hey, it is what it is. You knew who I was whenever you got with me. Blah, 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 blah. Live your life different if you want to be with me. Him treating you like he's the prize. And when that man is committed to his insecurity, you got to be committed to your full potential that you're not going to reach with him. It's like either a man can help you win or watch you win, but either way, you're going to win. And you're not going to win with a man who's committed to his insecurity. But those are just my thoughts. I'm your internet brother trying to look out. But if you got something of value from this conversation, share it for your timeline, for your friends and family, so they can also be blessed by this message. Hit that share button. And if you're in the market for an evolved man, click the link that you see pinned down here in the comments. You'll be thankful that you did it, to get free access to my masterclass where I went in on how to attract evolved men, to make them crave you from your authentic self. The link is also in the caption whenever you back out, the bio or what have you. If you don't see it pinned right here by my page, go ahead and click that link that's in the caption. It'll take you there as well. Again, it's absolutely free.